start. But before starting, let me also just okay. Yes. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Baku Power BI, Excel, and Innovative Educators Meetup Group's 9th session in 2022. Let's go on with our agenda. After introduction, we'll go on giving some information about our sponsor, so-called Enterprise DNA. And today's topic is using QGIS to build a layer for Power BI map visuals by Lucassen. I hope in next minutes, Paul will give the necessary information about this topic and his session. And then we'll have Q&A session after the presentation. Enterprise DNA is a great educational platform where one can get the necessary information about Power Platform products, including Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, so on and so forth. And Enterprise DNA is offshore sponsor of Baku Power BI, Excel, and Innovative Educators Meetup Group. It gives 3 free annual Enterprise DNA memberships each month. And these 3 participants, people are selected randomly. And the Baku Power BI, Excel, and Innovative Educators Meetup Group has roughly 1,200 members. 50% of those members are coming from my native country, my country, Azerbaijan. And one more news about Enterprise DNA is that Enterprise DNA is organizing free of charge events for 4 times in a year. And the next event is going to happen in July 2022. And I'm very happy that I have an opportunity to deliver a speech in this event. So roughly 15 days have been left for the registration of this event. So this presentation file will be shared with you on my Meetup Group page. And here is hyperlink. So you can just click on this slide and it will take you to the registration page of Enterprise DNA. And I will talk about retail cases, retail sales analysis with Power BI during my session. So I will be very happy to see you and to welcome each of you in that session. And as for today's speaker is a great person from the Netherlands, Paul Lucassen. Paul Lucassen is going to talk about using QGIS to build a layer for Power BI map visuals. I hope in next minutes he will give the necessary information about this topic. And I also would like to give you a little bit information about our next speaker, who is coming originally from Iran, but locating in Australia, Vahid Tostamejid. And he's going to deliver a speech on July 18th, 2022. So I would like to draw your attention to one fact. This is that each session is recorded and lively streaming. And you may watch the recorded version of my session either on Facebook, Excel World's Facebook page, or Ilgar Zarbaliyev's YouTube channel. And also here you may find the previous recorded sessions of my meetups. So one last but not least, I would like also to give you information about my data summit. I'm one of the organizers of this summit, and this is going to happen on September from 5th to 7th. This is a 3-day event, and we have 35 wonderful speakers from different parts of the globe, and 23 of them are Microsoft MVPs and others are Microsoft MCTs. So I kindly invite you to join to this event. I hope it will be very benefit of you. And we are in early bird ticket period till 30th June 2022. So, but it's not the all. for today's participants, I'm just going to give 20% more discount. So you may use this coupon code UGAR-20 and you will get 20 more percent discount. So I would like to thank you for joining today's session. And I strongly believe that I will see you once again on July 18th. So now I would like to invite Paul Lucassen to deliver his speech. So Paul, speech is yours, and I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. So you may share your screen and go on. Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, I'm quite happy and thrilled to be able to give this presentation. And hopefully this will add something to your general knowledge about mapping, which is one of my strong points. And hopefully I can contribute to your learning path. I have a career in transportation and logistics. And for the last 12 years, I've been working as a logistics consultant. And I have customers, including the logistics services providers and manufacturers in various industries. The work that I do, the projects, are usually a combination of data analysis and visualization in Power BI. And many times I do mapping and analysis using GIS software and then use custom map visuals in Power BI to actually display. I live in the Netherlands and I work across Europe. And my projects include a greenfield analysis, which is basically a center of gravity analysis, a center of gravity analysis with more points or a cluster analysis, and network infrastructure and relocation. Imagine a company having a number of warehouses across Europe, and they want to find whether they can reduce the number of warehouses and are they in the right location or not. You will find some of this already covered in Power BI with visuals in the first course. So for those who are already a member of Enterprise DNA, I would recommend to look for the geospatial analysis course, because you can find many examples, but also you'll find the documents and the spreadsheets and everything else. So you can actually train yourself. In that course, you will find a number of examples. And I've made a GIF for this. So I do a Huff gravity analysis. I do use well-known text to display routes. I can do center of gravity with showing more layers on the map. As you know, in Power BI, it's not very easy to display more layers or more points on the map. But there are ways to do it, and I explain that in the course. And you'll find that many of those topics are associated with distance, and so are the two topics today. So today's topic, using QGIS, which is a free tool to create background layers for Power BI custom map visuals. And when I talk about custom map visuals, I refer to either Mapbox or Icon Map. I will show how to create a Thiessen Voronoi polygon. Probably many of you have never heard of it. It's this sort of spider web here on the left. And isochrones, which are basically distance bands. So if you look here on the map in the green colors, you can see the shading, and each of the shades represents a distance band of 5, 10, and 50 kilometers. I will show you how to create this, and I will actually go on with isochrones to explain how to do this in Power BI. Can you see this still?
Yes.
Do you see the website? Yes. For QGIS? Yes. Okay, good. Because I haven't got the green line around my screen, so I'm not sure whether you see it. So forgive me for asking. In order to build maps in QGIS, obviously we first need to get the software. The software is free. You go to the website of QGIS.
Excuse me, Paul, we don't see you, we don't see the web page.
Hang on.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Okay. Well, I suddenly get to this site, which was not my intention. Let me do it again. Right. So you go to the QGIS website, and here you can download for free. Downloading is as easy as clicking and making a choice. My recommendation is to choose the one where it says the independent installer, and the version is 3.24, as you can see here. From here, you just download it. It's a huge download. It's about 2 GB. And after that, you've got all the information and the data needed to build maps. So from here, let's go into QGIS. Okay. Again, the famous question, can you see this map?
Yes, we see it's
Yes.
Azerbaijan's map, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it's our map.
Yeah. So what you see, what I've done is I've, for the occasion, I have downloaded some information associated with Baku in order to make you more at home, if you like. And what I've done is I've downloaded a number of addresses for bus stops in Baku, and I've put a point on the map, which is just my departure point. There are many ways to get data into QGIS. So you can add layers. If you talk about this, where you can, this is underlined, so this is selected. This one is selected now. Each one of these is a layer. You can turn them on and you can turn them off. These layers are built from spreadsheets or CSV files or whatever you can think of. There are many ways to get your information in. There's also an additional way, which is to use plugins. QGIS is very, very powerful, but on top of this, there are many plugins. If you go to plugins, manage and install plugins, you will see an option to select the plugins, and which are basically small pieces of software, most of the time in Python. And they help you to do all sorts of things like calculating distance and creating shapes and everything else. The ones that I would recommend for you when you start to download are Quick OpenStreetMaps, ORS tools, and Quick Map Services. You install them, you just follow the screen, it's quite easy. If you do that, eventually you will have the access to all these plugins, either through a processing toolbox, which you can see here on the right, or through the menu. Sorry?
Oh, somebody unmuted themselves. Okay, no problem. Go on, please.
Can I continue?
Sure, sure.
Okay, so to show you what you can do with these, if I remove my background map, which is the OpenStreetMap standard map, you can see I have a white canvas and you can still see all the points. These points are still geographically connected to this map. In order to get a background map, you go to Web. You have downloaded your plugin Quick Map Services. You go to Quick Map Services and you have access to all these maps, OpenStreetMap, Bing Map, Google Map, whatever you like. So I already have my OpenStreetMap. And once I do that, I can get the background map. And now I have a real map as a background for the points that I intend to display on the map. Sometimes it's nice to just being able to toggle it off if you want an overview of the points that you put on the map. Is that clear so far?
Yes.
Good. Then another way of getting points on the map is using Quick OSM, one of the plugins that I refer to. Quick OSM. And you can download lots of data, open data from many partners in QGIS. So when I click
I'm
this,
sorry, Professor, I'm sorry, Mr. Paul,
Yeah.
can I ask, there are 4 red squares. What does it mean? I'm sorry.
I go back, hang on. Which 4 red squares?
On the map.
Oh, these triangles. Or this red square.
I'm sorry, yes, a triangle.
Yeah, those are just integrated in the map. So they may be a point of interest, which is integrated in the map. They have nothing to do with this presentation, but they're merely showing on the map. They disappear if I zoom out, and you get more information if I zoom in. And I guess if you zoom in further, you get more and more information because these maps are very, very high density. Yeah. Okay.
On which window are you working?
Say that again.
Which window are you working? It's the same window.
Yes, I'm still showing the same screen.
Okay.
You should be seeing Baku with the green dots of the bus stops and a red dot.
Yes, yeah? It's the same, yeah.
Okay, good. So let's go on to this quick OpenStreetMap window. Here, you can actually type in something like bus stop. And it will prompt me. And now what I get is access to a data set, which is actually holding all the bus stops in Baku, because I limited the search in Baku only. Make sure you always make a selection here, because if you choose the world, you get so many points that you can't see your screen anymore. And if I run this, it will automatically add a layer. It says successful. Close this. And now, you can see these are the highway bus stop in Baku. So this is the set that I used for this presentation. Yeah. Another way of putting points on the map, as I explained, is by using an Excel sheet or a CSV file. And in this case, I have a departure for my points. And in order to get one, I've simply created a small file and put this point on the map. But you can add this also with an Excel file or a selection once you have your points on the map. And that speaks for itself once you start doing the exercise. Okay. The first thing I want to show is building this Thiessen Voronoi. I have added 4 points, Thiessen Voronoi points. These are merely random chosen points on the map. Yeah. I have to move this window a little bit. Here in my processing toolbox, which is open by default, I can see all the plugins that have been downloaded in the software. In this case, all I have to do is type, and my processing toolbox will find the appropriate solution for the question that I ask. In this case, I'm asking for a Thiessen polygon, And the general name for this is Thiessen or Thiessen Voronoi polygon. So if I click this, I get this option. It says, what is the which are the points around which you want to have your Thiessen Voronoi, which is basically the spider web that I explained. And it also refers to a buffer. I will show you what the buffer does. So if I run this with just the points, I get this. It's very small and it's basically not very helpful. So right click, remove. Let's do it again. Make sure you've got your points. And at this time, I'm going to create a buffer of 100%. Run it, close it. And now you can see that we've got 4 elements. And if I change the fill of this, you can see that on my map, I have these sections and the points within this section associated with this Thiessen point and in this one are exactly the same. So this point and this point is at exactly the same distance from the line dividing this section. The same goes for these. So if you use this on a scale like in a city where you have shops or stores and you want to see what the walking distance is, because this represents the straight line distance, you can actually create your points and then find out which points are nearest by for a walk between the different locations that you've got. And that's what we call a Thiessen Voronoi polygon. Is that clear?
Yes. For me, yes.
Any questions?
We have not question up to now. As soon as they are appearing, I will let you know. Okay, so this is quite useful when you have a situation where you want to do something like redistributing a location of stores or see what the distance is between points. So this is just to demonstrate what you can do with shapes. Remember that every shape that we create in QGIS can be exported, which I will show later on. And from that file, we can create geographical files that can actually be used inside Power BI map visuals. So we turn this off and we are left with our points. I turn on the departure. The next thing we are going to do is to create isochrones. Isochrones, as I mentioned, are distance bands, and we can define how these bands are actually configured. To do that, we select our point. We go to our processing toolbox and we type in isochrone. And we are making isochrones from a layer. You can see that you get many suggestions. You have programs where you can do it for cars, for bicycles, pedestrians, trucks. I'm using the standard one merely for this demonstration. A new window opens. We use the travel mode car, but you can change that to a number of things. The input point layer is my departure, and I use an ID. And I want the distance. So you can see you can either choose for time in seconds or distance. If you choose distance, you have to make some adjustments. And we are going to create 4 bands. Looks okay.
run it, close it. And now we have our isochrones. As you can see, I will slightly zoom in. Each of these colors represents a band, a distance band of respectively 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 kilometers from Baku, real distance. You can see a few spikes, which is due to the fact that here we have a point associated with probably a ferry line. And here we have a point because there on another map, apparently there's a road here. You know better than I, but this is actually defining the distance in kilometers to these points. What I normally do is I repair these maps and get rid of these ugly shapes. But for this exercise, I will leave them on and I'll show you an example later where they have been removed. So isochrones are basically the thing to consider if you want to see real distance bands on your map and your associated information. Now, in order to display this in Power BI, we need to do a number of things. First of all, we need to make sure that we commit the points in each of these distance sections to our information. To do that, we go to our bus stops, which is the layer with all the green points. And we're going to do an overlay, which is intersection. What we are basically going to do is we are going to give each and every point of the bus stops the ID of the area that it is in. So all the points within this bluer area will be associated with 5,000, and the ones here will be associated with 10,000. So my input layer is my bus stops. And my overlay layer, obviously, is the isochrones. I run this. And now, as you can see on the left here in this screen, let me close this. On the left side, you can see intersection. If I right-click this, I can open an attribute table. For every layer in your data, whenever you right-click on it, a menu opens and you can see things associated with what you have done and the contents of your table. These tables are very much alike the tables you import into Power BI, and sometimes I use these tables like this time in order to get my information associated with what I want to display on the map. As you can see now, I've got all my bus stops. And at the same time, for each and every bus stop, I have the associated shape and identification. So now we know that this bus stop is in the 5,000 meter band. And if we scroll down, we get to the ones in the 10,000 band and so forth. So this file, we can actually convert into a file to use in Power BI. So what you do is you right-click it, export, save features, and you make a choice. You have to make a choice here first, the format. So in our case, we would go for XLSX. You put in the file name, and you need to save it. So you save it with a file name, and then you've got a new file, an Excel file that you can import into Power BI, and that holds all the information about what you see on the map here, plus the associated bands. I've already added this file, so I'll cancel this out just to save a bit of time. This is the result, the bus stops geocoded, allocated referring to the distance bands that they are in. And if I go to the attribute table, you can see that I now have a file, which is an Excel file, that I can use for Power BI. Okay, so what we've done so far, we've created our shape. and we've created a table. For the shape to be able to use in Power BI, we need to go through a number of conversions. The first conversion is that we need to export it as a shapefile and then use that shapefile in another piece of software, free again, to convert it. So in order to do that, we go to our isochrones, right-click, export, save features as. In this case, we save it as a shapefile. So where before our data file was selected for a spreadsheet, in this case, we would go for an S3 shapefile. Click on it. I'll just put it somewhere because I've got another one available. So I just call this now, and I can save it as a shapefile. I can select whether I want to save that file to the map or not. If you're not careful, you get a lot of steps here, which you can remove, obviously. So I choose not to do that because I already have it. So I click cancel because I already have it anyhow. And I would like to show you inside this window that you can see behind some of the layers, this icon. This means that this is a temporary layer. If I close QGIS and reopen it again, these layers will be gone. So whenever you do something, you have to make sure that you save it by right-clicking, make permanent. And by making it permanent, you will be able to actually make sure that it will be showing again when you reopen QGIS. So I'll just do that here now. I call it now again. And I'll save that just for safety's sake. Okay. So this is the first step of getting your shapes. The next step is to go to, let me see where the screen is. To Map Shaper. Can you see this? Map Shaper?
Yes, yes, we see it.
Okay, right. So we started with downloading QGIS. The next step is to use Map Shaper, a free tool. And just input Map Shaper and you will get to it. And this is a free tool to convert all sorts of geographical files into other files. Next to this, we are going to use Mapbox Studio, but in order to do that, we first need this. Here in Map Shaper, I can select files. So I select my files. And now I need to be careful because I messed it up a bit. Once you've done that, you can see the files associated with that isochrone. Don't worry about the name. I've used another one that I already saved. Click Snap Vertices. What this will do is will actually close certain parts of lines that are probably open or need repairing, and click on Import. And what you see now is the shape of the distance bands that we created. And from here, you need to do nothing else but click Export and make a selection, either a GeoJSON file or a TopoJSON file. I normally export both the GeoJSON and the TopoJSON because the GeoJSON is required for either Mapbox or icon map. The TopoJSON, however, is for the shape map, which is, as you know, in preview since the start, but nevertheless, sometimes I use a shape map merely as a legend, and then I can use and display something like this as a shape map visual rather than the GeoJSON in Mapbox or IconMap. You click export, and once you do that, you can save the file where you like for later use. Yeah, I've already got this, so I'm not worrying about it. I'll leave it where it is. Any questions up to now?
Yes, we have one question, and Anthony is asking that, is the isochrones from layers a default tool, or is it another plugin?
It is a default tool. So if you go to the analysis tools in QGIS, you will see that you have many options for isochrones, but if you type in the processing toolbox isochrones, you will see many suggestions from different programs. Is that answering the question?
Yes. But Anthony, if you have some more questions, please unmute yourself and you may ask. Of course.
Okay, so what we've done so far, create a shape, taken it into Map Shaper, convert it into either a GeoJSON or a TopoJSON file, and save it. The next thing is we go to Mapbox Studio. Again, this is free. You need to go to Mapbox, register. You get an account, which is free. You get a token, and the token is required to use in the custom visual, which I will show later on. So Mapbox, create an account, get yourself a free token, and that's it. Here in the top, you can see styles, tile sets, and data sets. In short, to explain, a style is a background. In other words, it is a geographical background in a map. It's committed to that map, but at the same time, you cannot click on it. So you cannot select one of the sections in the map. However, if you create a tile set, you can create what we call a choropleth map. I've displayed this also in the geospatial analysis course. And then you can actually click on either a section of the map, and you will subsequently see it filtering your data inside Power BI. I'm not touching on tile sets today. I'm merely going to styles. So in styles, we have to go to our new style. And as you can see, I've got a number here already, but let's do it from start, see if it works. So if you click that, you get to this screen and you can make a selection. So we go for a basic map, or we go for a monochrome map. Remember, this is not really important because all we are after is a link to the shape and not to the map, because the map background is provided by the custom visual in Power BI anyhow. But we can make a few changes. So let's do that. Let's say we use the basic map with the base, and we say, okay, now we get this screen. Next one we have to do is we need to add a layer. Again, a layer, which is the layer out of QGIS. So we click on the plus sign and we say upload data. We select the file and we need a GeoJSON file. So let's take the GeoJSON file. Confirm. It's now uploading. Should take only a few seconds. Right. Let me see where we are. This is always the most difficult part. For some reason, I never get my my points on the map, and I have to go look for them. Let me see. Europe. This is always the most difficult part, if you like, trying to find this. There should be a way to actually make sure it always zooms to what you select, but for some reason it never works. So as you can see now, we have our shapes and they are now inside Mapbox. The important thing that we need is a style or a map code, which is a source code that we need to enter inside the Mapbox visual. So we've got this. If we like, we can do changes to this. So we can go to style and we can change the color and we can change the patterns and everything else. But in general, you don't have to do a lot because obviously we're not looking for the colors again, but we're merely looking for the contours of the distance bands. In other cases, you may want the color and then you simply have to experiment or see a few webinars on YouTube about using Mapbox and QGIS. So at this point, you can publish it. And if you publish it, it will subsequently enter the library of Mapbox. I've got a few ready, so I'm not bothering here. I've got this one, and I'm using this one for the map inside Power BI. Any questions about Mapbox?
Yes, maybe it's not, yeah, Farid Abilov has his question, and he's saying that, is it possible to easily migrate the layers from here to the other common GIS platforms, like ArcGIS or ArcMap or QGIS? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. What you are doing is basically creating a shapefile or a GeoJSON file, and those files have a common way of being constructed, and you can use them in ArcGIS or QGIS. I use Maptitude, which is an American program that I use most of the time for my projects in the US, and I use the shapefiles inside Maptitude. So there are a number of these tools available where you can use the same type of files.
Yes, that was the question. So you may go on. Thank you.
So we can leave our websites. So just to repeat, QGIS, MapShaper to export the GeoJSON, Mapbox to convert the GeoJSON into a file that we can use inside the Mapbox custom visual. Remember that the file that we create here is a GeoJSON file, and we can also use that in icon map. So once you've got it, you can also connect with this file inside icon map. I'm now going into my Power BI files. Hopefully you see this round spider web, do you?
Yes.
Good. Okay. This is a follow-up for the geospatial course. So I've already been using this in another part of Europe. This is around Rotterdam, and this information is consistent with the information in the first course, hence that I used it. And here you can see how I used this inside Power BI. And I'm now going to demo how we can do this with the Baku information. So I go to my This is the finalized model, and I'll take you through the steps through the Power Query, how to get to this result. You can see this, I guess, in Power BI now, can you? Hang on. I'll just make sure I'll share it properly because I'm not convinced that you can actually. Now you should see it. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
good. Okay, so if we go to transform data, you can see that I've brought two queries inside Power BI. The first one is my location, which is the departure location that we saw as a red square on the map. And the other one are the bus stops, which had been geocoded and which have been allocated to the locations. I realize I forgot one small step, which I will show you inside QGIS. When you have the points, like the intersection here, and we go to the attribute table, you don't, initially you do not have the coordinates, like the longitude and the latitude. What you have to do is you select your points. I've done it here, so let's do it again. You select your points, type geometry, and here you can add geometry attributes to your layer. So we want to geocode our bus stops to latitude longitudes. If you run this, it will subsequently geocode the information on the map, and then you eventually get to the point where I was here when I created this table, both with the allocation and with the X and Y coordinates. Sorry for that, I missed that out, but that is an important part to make sure that you can actually plot your points inside Power BI, where you obviously need the latitude and longitude. So we are back to Power BI, Power Query. We've got our points, and I've gone through a number of steps. So first of all, I imported the file. So my source is my bus stops geocoded allocated file. And this is the file that I created by exporting the bus stops layer to an Excel file. Changed the type, removed some columns. First of all, I want to convert the meters into kilometers. So I've added a duplication. I divided the column by 1,000, changed the type into text, added a custom column to add the kilometers. So now we have bands. Remove the columns again. Now, because I need to be able to sort this, I need to have an index to sort by. So what I do here is I group the rows, and I group the rows by the kilometer range. So that was my converted column. And I also keep the meters column. And I do a simple count rows, and I do an all rows. I click OK. Change the type. I sorted them. And now I can add my index column, 1, 2, 3, 4. I remove the other columns to keep only the table and my index. Expand it, sort it, and I remove the duplicates of the ID. The reason why I'm doing this here is that when you select inside your Power BI visual everything up to 10,000, you would also get all the points within the 5,000 meters. So in order to be able to separate these, I've added this step to make sure that I can identify each and every band associated with the visual. Close and apply. Yeah, I know. It's for some reason it's closed. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm coming back. close and apply. Okay, so now inside Power BI, we have our bus stops and we have our departure. A simple link between my departure table and my bus stops table, which is merely for directing this. And we have our visuals. I will duplicate this. And show you how we get the Mapbox visual inside. So first of all, for those who do not know, you can go to the app source. Search for Mapbox. And here we have it. I've already got it, so let's leave it as it is. Once you've got this, we can add it to the screen, make it a little bit bigger. And we need to fill in some things first. So the first thing we do is let's use the ID, and use the longitude, which is the X coordinate, and let's use the Y for the latitude. You get this screen where it says, you click here to get a token. I do have a token, but if you click here, you also get access to Mapbox Studio to provide you with a token. Once you have it, go here, go to the visual settings and enter your token. I will look for mine. And now I see a map starting. So now we have our first map. So these are the points that we built in QGIS, and we can actually do some work on it, but we've done this already on the other one. So let's leave it and let's change the background. So at the moment, our map style is light and we can choose dark and so forth. I'm sure you've done this before, but now we go to custom. When we go to custom, we need to add a style URL, and you've guessed it. We need to go back to Mapbox. And we need to find, clicking here on the ellipse, the style URL, which is this thing here. Each and every of these has a different style, and the style URL associated with this is connecting your data to the map that you created. Copy it, go back to Power BI, paste the style URL in here, and subsequently you can see that I've got the style URL here. So custom map, style URL. The rest you can leave for the time being. Make sure that you are using a circle. And then once you add a slicer from your kilometers range, you can see that the map is now responding, and you can make a selection for inside 5 kilometers, inside 10 kilometers, 15 or 20, or all of them. Now, obviously, when you have your own points, I can imagine if you do your retail and sales summit and you would have a map of the retail locations, you could actually show how many people were there, the revenue and everything else. And associated with that, that information would also be displayed based on the filtering you do inside the map. So what we see is a map with just a background layer, but subsequently the points are associated with each of the individual bands and will respond to filtering. Is that clear so far?
For me, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have seen a way to do this with shapes in QGIS. and using Map Shaper. There's a benefit in being able to create these shapes, because obviously you can actually create shapes from whatever you like, provinces, postcodes, communities, and display them with the associated information. But sometimes it's also easy to use a different method, which is the one which is inside, which you can use inside Icon Map. I'm going to touch on that only briefly because there's a lot going on, but nevertheless, I would like to show you an example of so-called well-known text. So these are files which are on the web, so you need to have an internet connection in order to display the map. If we go to this map again, I'll make sure that you'll see it. Here you can see a few examples of using the well-known text. So if I go to, oh, okay, yeah, let's first do the well-known text. So here I've got my shapes. And the shapes are nothing else but a text string, well-known text. And it consists of a name, it could be a multi-polygon or a polygon or a point, and the longitude and latitude for the points. So imagine if you have this section here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 latitudes and longitudes, which together comprise this shape. Rather than creating a geographical shape like a GeoJSON or a JSON, TopoJSON file, we use well-known text. This is very handy, but so far only Icon Map supports this. So this is the Icon Map visual. Again, if you go to the app source, Icon Map. And here you've got it. I strongly recommend you get some more information about this from the website from Icon Map, because it's a very, very powerful mapping visual. Together with Mapbox, probably the best visuals you can imagine. I find that I use Mapbox and Icon Map almost always, and never use the standard map or even the Esri ArcGIS map visual, because these are much easier to deal with and they have many more possibilities. So this is using the well-known text, but as you can see, because we have, in our case, we have these distance bands, and these are obviously Thiessen Voronoi polygons, it is not really helping a lot. You may as well just use a standard shape. I referred to a tile set in Mapbox, and I mentioned that you can create a choropleth map. So this is an example. This map is the same as you saw on the other page, but this is a choropleth map, which means I can actually click in the map and the map will subsequently filter my data. And this is sometimes handy, for instance, when you have postcodes and you want to select a few postcodes and to see what is inside. And then for fun, I've added a small shape map visual here, which is like a legend, and I can actually click this file and refer to a part on the map. So again, these are a few ways of displaying something on your map, and it's up to you to decide which method you prefer. So that's basically the end so far of this this presentation, exactly within an hour.
Yes. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your way of teaching or sharing the information. Really, me and I strongly believe that all other participants found it very useful. So if anybody has questions, please unmute yourself and ask directly. And we have 15 minutes for Q&A session. In each session, at the end, I kindly ask everybody to turn on their cameras. And I'm just taking one picture for memory, of course. Once again, if you have questions, please ask your questions. Right, I will ask. If not, let's take a picture and end this session, of course, in next minutes. So with your permission, I would like to stop live streaming, right?